and I'm working on 4 right now. I know that the North American semi-hairless Sasquatch is somewhere in the audience. He's out there. There's he at. He's hiding. Anyway, me and Alan Kay, a lot of you know him, me and Alan Kay are currently working on a book together as well. It's going to be more of a instructional manual wrapped inside of some life lessons, some story as well. I think this is going to be a phenomenal book because for those of you that know Alan, you know that he is a very interesting and deep individual. And he and I are great friends. I love him like a brother. And I can't wait to do this project with him, along with the other ones I'm doing, like I don't have enough to do. But it's going to be something special when it comes out. And I met Jan when I moved up here to North Carolina. I was living in Lenore, and I used to be a customer of the store. When she figured out what I did, she started stocking the books and invited me to HLS. I think it was 6 years ago. Was it the first time I was there? About 6 years ago. And I think she invited me to come to HLS because of how much money I was spending in the store. She wanted to keep me close. Because Lord knows she's made more for me than I've made off of her. But I love her and Bill to death. They're great folks. They're providing an awesome service, and there's not enough people like them in our country that provide what they provide to the communities.
Yeah.
Because where I live, there you cannot walk into a store and buy the kind of products that they carry and find the kind of knowledge that they have on their bookshelves and that they have in their heads. I mean, these aren't people that are looking to make money off of their community. They're providing a service not just in the products that they sell, but the knowledge and the education that they provide. They're fantastic people, and that's why I keep coming back too. And like others have said up here, we've met a lot of friends here. I see Ollie sitting out here in the audience. He lives down near where I live, and he's all the way up here to attend this event. I met guys from Melbourne. I've met guys from Cape Canaveral up here. I've met, they live down where I live. And they've come this far to an event like this because you cannot find gatherings of these kind of people, us, to share this kind of knowledge in enough places in the country. And so it's phenomenal what they're doing. And again, I can't thank them enough. But the last thing I'll mention is for the survival series, those that know what it is, I've been talking for a few years about a TV show. There's a lot of momentum on that right now. I'm hoping to have some major announcements come about June. The TV show is going to happen. It will become a reality. And it's going to be done right because I'm being a real pain to those involved and making sure it stays that way. So, and I want to thank all these guys for being here too. This is a great group, especially Lisa. She put together the DD12 thing. She brought all these authors together. If you've looked at that Facebook page, it's complete unorganized chaos. But there's some great authors there. There's a lot of great readers there. They share information. And more importantly, they're connecting with each other. They're finding out that I'm not the only one that thinks this way near me. And they're letting them make connections. Because one of the hardest things to do, as everyone here knows, is to find like-minded people that think the way you do and have the same values as you. Because it's hard to vet folks in that manner. And this is just a good way of doing it. So not only is DD12 providing a lot of entertainment, it's connecting people together and making networks start and groups form and things like that. So that's awesome. It's really good. I'm not going to hold it against Doug that he is a friend with Jeff Hopp, which I am too. Me and Jeff are great friends. We got into publishing at the exact same time, and he's a great guy. If you haven't read his stuff, check him out. You won't be disappointed. And then, and yeah, he's DD12 too. You go to DD12, you'll see it. He's there as well. And then the rest of these hillbillies up here. So anyway, that's all I got. I'm not going to take it any more time. So thanks for coming, everybody, and let's give Bill and Jan another little.
Now, yeah, start. A lot of these authors have one thing in common. Why are you pointing there? I got this. I got it. A lot of these authors have one thing in common, and that's the next guy I'm going to introduce. Because how many of you listen to audio books? How many of you listen to them? Okay, check it out. Right on. I do too. The next guest I'm going to introduce is Mr. Kevin Pierce, the narrator of most of these books.
I feel better if I can be back kind of behind. It makes a lot more sense. You're a lot more likely
to. But say a little about yourself. What's your favorite color?
No, we're on the street. We don't know what to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless I've got one of these typing for me, I have no thoughts of my own. I think Lisa had said voice of the apocalypse. I think tonight I'll consider spokesman for the apocalypse. Will that work when we do that? I'm an audiobook narrator full-time. I specialize in this wonderful world of post-apocalyptic science fiction. And I'm having an absolute blast working with, I think, most of the folks up here. And still, so even after they've had a chance to get to know me, we're still working together. And I hope to work with more. It's also a pleasure to meet the folks who are doing the listening and to see how many of them there are. That's a treat too. And now I'll go back to the voice that you can't see.
How many of you are from west of the Mississippi? How many's come west of the Mississippi? Awesome. Where are you from? Oklahoma. Where are you from? Oklahoma. Where are you from? Seattle. Wow. Can anybody beat Seattle?
What are you looking for?
There you go. I'm just wondering how far somebody traveled. What's the longest? I guess we'll start some questions and answers. When we get through the question and answer, we're going to have the godfather of these people.
Yeah, I
come up and talk. The master of disaster will be up here. Scariest man in the world. And just so you know, if anything goes down, I'm getting with Kevin because he knows everything that's in all of these books. He's on my team. Y'all pick somebody else. He's on my side.
We say the knowledge is miles wide and inches deep.
Anybody have a question for any of these fine people?
Look, they're all scared.
What advice would y'all give AJ on how to deal with negative reviews?
Laugh at them and share them with your friends.
Don't even read them.
Amen.
Amen to that. Yeah, don't even read them. You know, you cannot please all the people all the time. And if someone doesn't like your stuff, who cares? I was at an event in Denver where I was giving away copies of my book when I first got started. I gave somebody a signed copy. They came back the next day, dropped it on the table, and they're like, "I cannot read this." And I picked it up. I threw it over my shoulder. I said, "Next." I didn't care what she had to say. You know, everybody's a critic, and if they don't like it, that's fine. You know, don't even hurt my feelings. Don't make me feel bad. But I will tell you this: a 1-star review from someone who's very liberal will drive sales up.
Oh yeah.
I had somebody call me a reactionary, racist, right-wing extremist, and my sales went boop. So it was pretty good.
I guess there's some truth. What did they say?
You'll have to come on down.
As long as I spell your name right. You want me to come down?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen and authors, have you found since that 2012 that prepping has not and was not mainstream, that since the release of all of your books, and that means all of you together, that you have been able to push prepping into the mainstream, and if you found that your message has been getting across to a more effective and broadband audience?
Well, I'll say this.
Of course you will.
Says the guy who's never short of something to say, whether we want to hear it or not. When Obama was elected, and I bet Jan can probably vouch for this on her sales totals. Prepping went through the roof. The world was going to end. Fast forward a few years, Trump gets elected. And it did the same thing in reverse. It fell off a cliff. Everybody thinks that since Trump was elected, we're all saved and nothing is going to happen. The exact same threats exist today that existed then. Nothing has changed, and anyone who stops prepping simply because of the change of hats in Washington is very, very foolish. I would say keep going, don't slow down, you know. Again, all things in moderation. Don't forget to live life for today. That's very important. It's something I like to stress. Because if things ever do go south, you're going to want these good memories like this one here tonight to look back on and think about, because you won't have them, you know, if anything terrible ever does happen. So live life, but keep prepping, you know, every day. Do a little something, whatever it is. I was talking with somebody today who's getting into prepping, and I told him every step you take now puts you one step ahead of everybody else. And that's just the way you do this. It's a journey. It's one step at a time. Every step you take, that much farther ahead.
Yeah, and this is also more of winning people over one at a time, because we don't have any overall large picture of the effect that our books are having. But what I see is the emails that I get from people and the Facebook messages from people and the people I see here who say, your books made me make sure I park at night with a full tank of gas, or your books have me carry in a get home bag with me. Those are things that we like to hear that show that at least one person at a time you're having a little impact on folks.
How many, and I'll throw this in because I'm a reader, how many people's first book in prepping in the post-apocalyptic world was 1 second after? Okay. Now, let me tell you something about 1 second after, and about Dr. Fortune, who's coming up here, and about the people that's up here in front of us. Because I'm a reader from way back. I started prepping in August of 1985. So you gotta know what happened in August of 1985. Did it again, 1985. No, the movie Red Dawn. Movie Red Dawn come out. Used to, you could not buy Dr. Fortune's books, James Wesley Rawls, or anybody sitting up here unless you went to the back of Soldier Fortune magazine and looked at the ad for Paladin Press. And it was like buying porn. It come to your house in a brown paper wrapper, and it's like you had to go in the room and open it up. Oh man, I've got this book. Dr. Fortune made it go mainstream. You can now go into a B. Dalton's or Books A Million or wherever and buy these people's books. And that is the barrier that he broke, and that they are coming up in and pushing forward on and helping us learn more. That's all I got to say right now. Another question?
I got a quick question.
Okay.
I've read all most of the authors sitting up there. Had a chance to actually meet them and talk to them, and one of them mentioned something. I asked him a question: how do you research your characters? And he said, point blank, I talk to people like me. My background and stuff like that is in survival and prepping. I'm not an expert by any matter. I was trained by the military to do it, and I've carried it on in my civilian world. Do all the authors up here do the same thing? Is that the process when you get like your technical aspects of your books? I found them to be straight on, right on point, especially with the description of equipment or lack of description of equipment, but their mindset, stuff like that. Do you interview other people like that? Is that how you get it?
My answer is probably not going to answer your question exactly, but when I go to research characters, you know, of course, this is my introduction to this prepping community. So I'm going to answer the answers to your question. I'm looking for them too, but researching my characters, you know, to make sure that they're, you know, well-developed characters. One thing my mother used to always say is the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So a lot of my research is actually reading historical books and biographies and studying the way other people have reacted to apocalyptic situation. Like my favorite one to research is the Black Plague. It wiped out a lot of people, just like, you know, what we write about. But it was, you know, I mean, yeah, it was a totally different situation, but the aftermath was essentially the same. The way people reacted to, you know, and interacted with each other is going to be the same way we're going to react with each other. So that's what I do, is I do a lot of historical research.
I got one little thing to add to that. We do talk to folks like you. That's one of the reasons we go around and do a lot of these shows, and a bunch of us travel and do these shows together. And we get a lot of information from you folks, but we also cross-pollinate amongst ourselves. One cool thing that's we've all learned about this genre is that we're not competitors. It's a rising tide floats all boats. We help each other out. That's why we join these groups and we interact with each other. We come to these events, we all hang out together, and it's not just for the good time aspect of it, but we learn a lot from each other. You know, we talk about these things in depth, in person and online, and with you guys. A lot of you guys come out and hang out with us when we camp out here, and we get a lot from each other, you guys, and people all across the country, in addition to our own research. But the cross-pollinating with each other and with the other groups across the country is kind of the number one aspect, at least as far as I see it.
Of all of you that are out there, how many of you can say that you're the best person you know, as far as you know you better than you know anybody else? I mean, that's probably everybody, right? Very seldom are you going to run into somebody that knows somebody, their son or their aunt or uncle, better than they know them their own selves. I draw my own self and my characters. How many of you got a dark, like an antagonist inside of you that you kind of keep under submission, whether it's by use of coffee or joining the Navy or something like that? So I draw myself out of experience for the use. Like I was a marksmanship instructor my last year in the Marines. Being a marksmanship instructor kind of gave me a lot of intel on, you know, the M16A2 service rifles, 9mm pistols, shotguns, that kind of thing. And as I became, you know, more and more pro Second Amendment, and I grew in my knowledge of the Constitution, I got into more weapons. You know, I'm 46 now, which I mentioned earlier, so there's a whole lot more advancements in the Colt style rifle. But when I started writing books, I drew on that information, and I almost became too tedious in my description of the weapons that I was being used. And I would meet people at book signing events, or I